I'm Justine Vannucci Frederick, and I'm the owner of Vannucci Ltd Jewelry. And today I want to share with you the biggest change I have ever made in my business. Let me just say, a change that I have made in my business that has made the biggest impact on my business. It's actually two things really, but they fit together to be one system. So if you don't know me, like I said, my name is Justine. I'm the owner of Vannucci Ltd Jewelry, which I would call a demi-fine jewelry company. So I basically am not quite costume jewelry, but I'm not quite fine jewelry. I work in sterling silver and gold fill, and my price points are retail anywhere from $60 to $500. I've been in business 12 years, and the first 7 years of that, 8 years of that actually, I was pretty much exclusively wholesale. So I would go to trade shows, and I would stores, boutiques, museums would place orders with me that I would then fill throughout the season or the year. But then the pandemic hit. It was 2020. I'm living on the East Coast in Philadelphia, and once my wholesale machine stopped working, the wheels stopped turning, I definitely realized that it was not quite where I wanted to be. I wasn't doing quite what I wanted to be doing. I almost gave up making jewelry completely, and then I realized I just needed a different structure for my business. So I decided what I really wanted to do was focus on retail for a lot of different reasons, but I knew that I really wanted to be traveling more. I wanted to be doing some festivals, and I really couldn't do any of this on the East Coast like I wanted to. So I moved to Las Vegas. I bought a van. I started converting it into a little jewelry making camping machine, and I started going around to festivals. And I have kept some of my wholesale clients over the years, but only people that we really had a good relationship and they were buying consistently. Anyone that I was marketing to, because I just pretty much stopped marketing completely to wholesale, so that percentage of my income stream has really dropped. But I had to do that because it had to drop for me to make room for the retail side, the festival side. So even though I really knew I wanted to make money doing festivals, I had to look at the bigger picture. Even though I knew I wanted to do festivals for sure, that was part of what really drove me to make the whole move. I really needed to look at the bigger picture. What are all the ways that one makes money doing retail? So like I said, festivals, that's definitely a main one. There's also your online presence, whether that's a website, an Etsy, social media. And then there's personal events. Maybe you schedule a pop-up with a popular boutique or retailer. Maybe you have a virtual trunk show online, or maybe you do home shows like Tupperware shows or something. You come over and you put on a private show for people, and this works really well with the permanent jewelry as well. So I decided, besides the festivals, that of all those, I was really going to focus on my website as well. I already had a website going, this is true, but I really revamped it. The other thing is that festivals, they happen when they happen. And you also have to apply to most of them and get accepted. So if you're not doing enough festivals for one reason or another, or there's too much time in between festivals, how are you making up that money? Also with festivals, you're really only seeing your customers once or twice a year if you're sticking with the festivals, and I think that you could really encourage those clients to buy from you all year long. I know some people could say I could use social media or an Etsy for this, but the thing about having a website is that you really can control your client's experience. People initially are drawn to your jewelry in a completely emotional and instinctual way, but then they need permission to purchase it. And the kind of experience that you provide for people is, can give them the permission, whether that is having reviews on your site or seeing other things that just make them feel like this is exactly encompassing my personality, so I have to have this piece. It's so me. I also felt like, what happens if I'm really invested in a social media platform and it gets shut down? TikTok just got shut down. It might get shut down again. What happens to your audience? You don't own that audience. With your website, you can really capture your customers' information and use it down the line. And if, all the social media goes out, you still have your customer information. So the customer information and owning that leads me into the second part of this kind of two-part system that made the biggest change for me. So can you see where I'm leading yet? So we're talking a lot about websites and, bringing your festival buyers onto the website all year long. And the other part of this that goes along with it is the email list. If you're running a website, you have to drive your own traffic to the website. It's up to you to get people there. And how does one do that? I think the number one way to drive traffic to your website is to have an email list with like an email strategy where you are regularly in contact with your clients. This fits great with festivals because it's the best way to collect contact information from people that want to hear from you all year long. I also have a sign up in my Instagram bio. I have a sign up on my website, one that pops up, one that's in line, one that's on a different page. So I really do have places for people to sign up whenever the moment strikes them, because they say it takes several points of contact, up to 7, before people pull the trigger on your brand. So when they're ready, the sign up is there, no matter where they are. But I think the festivals is a great place to get those sign ups. I'm going to take a little moment to just diverge from like the whole plan that we're talking about, just because I think this is so important. But I see people really struggle to collect their customers' information when they're at a show. They really struggle to ask people to sign up for their mailing list. And I think there's a couple things you can do to overcome this. First of all, it's the wording. Don't say email list, don't say newsletter, don't say updates. It's so boring and no one wants to be on another email list. The best thing to do is you've got to first come up with a great little name for your group and an incentive. So I just went with an easy one, but it's an alliteration, the Vannucci VIPs. And my incentive is 20% off your first online order. So when I'm maybe packaging up an order and they're kind of standing around waiting, or maybe, they're debating between two things, but they're going to come back, I will say, well, are you an online shopper? And of course, everyone is. I let them know if you join my Vannucci VIPs, you get 20% off your first online order. And usually people are very excited about that. If there's any hesitation, I can sometimes, throw in there a no pressure, or if I see them going for it but they're hesitating, I'll even say something like, hey, if it's too much, just unsubscribe. Get your 20% off and unsubscribe. Because, people will, but not a lot of people will. And you just really want to make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they're in control, and they're more likely to sign up and stay on the list. Sometimes people don't do it. And usually they don't even say anything. They'll just say, oh, thank you. And then they just won't do it, which is totally fine. I get it. Sometimes I've had moments where it feels uncomfortable, but in the end, I think that's just about me. And the more that I do it, the more I feel comfortable. And you just can't take it personally if people don't want to sign up for a list. That's where you capture people on social media, I think, that you can't get directly on the email list immediately. Because that's the other thing is, if you can capture them some other way, you may get them on the list eventually. They bought a piece, they wear it all year long, they come back to you next festival, they buy another piece. Now they want to be on the list because now they're thinking, this might make a good Christmas gift for my bestie, stuff like that. So we've got the emails and we've got our website, and now we need to get those people whose emails we have onto the website. So how do we do that? So that's where your emailing program comes in. And people have a lot of strong opinions about this. You have a lot of options: MailChimp, Constant Contact, Klaviyo, Flodesk. I really highly recommend Klaviyo or Flodesk. Klaviyo is not bad pricing, and it has all the tools you could ever want, all the analytics, and it has the SMS, the texting as well, which is something that I would like to get into very soon, and I will chronicle that journey. But right now I'm just emailing. So I actually use Flodesk. I have an affiliate link for Flodesk in the show notes for this, and I really highly recommend them. The main reason is the emails are so appealing to look at and to create. Like, they have this kind of system where there's all kinds of elements, and you can bring them into the email and create these fun but not too overwhelming emails. And they also have like, you have brand packaging on there, so you can just like click your brand colors and they automatically populate, things like that. With my initial email plan, which I will go over here shortly, I was trying to put emails out once a week, and I just was not into it using MailChimp. It was expensive. The more followers I got, the more expensive it was. So it almost felt like an incentive to like try to keep your followers below like the tier levels. And then also it was just kind of clunky and unappealing to use. Once I switched to Flodesk, I had no problem keeping my goals because I just like didn't mind making the emails. It's just so visually appealing, their whole system on the back end and the front end. It's also what I use for my pop-up on my website. I use all sorts of like opt-ins from there. It really is like a great program. And with the affiliate link that I have on there, you will get half off for the year, because the best part is they have one flat rate. So usually the more subscribers you get, the more you have to pay. Flodesk is just like, we're good. And they just have it at one flat rate. So now we've got our way to collect emails. We have our website to send people to. We have our emailing program to send out the emails to the clients that we've collected their emails. And now we need a strategy. So when I first decided to try out this strategy in 2021, I decided I was going to email once a week. I started with about 500 subscribers, and I think it's important that they're not all sales emails. You actually don't even want to run a ton of sales, because then you're training your customer to expect sales from you often. But they had all kinds of things. I wrote blog posts that I then would just repurpose some of the blog posts for the email. I'd talk about different kinds of gemstones. I talked about upcoming events I have. I actually divided my list into locations so that I could email each location as shows were coming up. That way people in Seattle weren't getting emails for shows in Arizona, and then they were less likely to open the rest of the emails. So it's important that you provide value for people. Keep them short, 1 or 2 topics per email. You don't need to have like a whole list of different things that are going on where you feel like you need to just give them so much information in each email. No, these are just like quick little things. You want to include lots of calls to action that will get them either on your website or whatever action you want them to take. I could go into an entire video about an email strategy, which maybe I will at some point, but those are the basics. You need to be emailing regularly so that when you do have something important to announce that you want people to know about, your list is already warmed up. They're expecting emails from you. They trust you. I want to talk a little bit about the results. So from 2019 to 2021, I'm not including 2020's data because it was a weird year for me and I was making masks and selling them off the website. So there's just like no great data. But I have data from 2019 and then from the end of the year in 2021 when I tried this strategy, and I went up 330% in orders on my website. And then I went up another 31% from 2022 to 2023. And then 2024 was about the same. I was definitely not nearly as focused on emailing weekly last year. I let a lot more space go in between each email. I was doing a lot more shows last year and I just didn't have time to even be filling website orders, so I wasn't pushing them. But at this point, when I send emails, I usually get orders because it just reminds people that I exist, I think. And oftentimes the orders are not even for the things that I may be highlighting in the email, but these emails get people over to the website. And then once they're on the website, hopefully your website funnel will capture them and move them into the cart and checkout. Out of all the things that I've done for my business, you think, oh, I should take a class and learn how to set stones in this one way, or I should learn this technique. I think you just need to change something within the organization of your business and how you're reaching out to customers. I think consistency goes a really long way for any project. Just give it a try, but make sure you're doing it at least weekly. I think that any less is not probably going to get the same results. And I know we're always worried about bothering people, but if you're bothering them, they'll unsubscribe or they won't open the emails. And so, you never really had them captured anyway. You're not going to offend someone off your list by sending too many emails if they were already super excited about you and going to buy. The people that are your strong customers want to hear from you. In fact, when I'm at shows, I will often have people tell me they wish I emailed or posted on social media more. I hope that this has been helpful and maybe gives you a small outline on how to do this for yourself and see if you can make some changes in your business this way. It's shaping up to be a very uncertain year. So this kind of consistency and trust that you can get from your clients right now will be really, really valuable later on. So thanks for listening, guys, and please follow and hit the bell icon, and I will keep getting videos out to you all.